Are you a person that struggles with saying no? Just saying no when people come to you borrowing money. So you constantly find people coming to you and borrowing money and you honestly struggle to say no. You don't know how to actually brush them off or basically tell them that you don't want to lend them money, but without seeming rude. On today's video, we are going to be tackling some of that. I'm going to be sharing with you some of the tips that have helped me in making sure that I draw these boundaries. I make it clear to people that I do not lend out money or that I don't have money without being rude, and making sure that I discourage them from even thinking about me when they think of borrowing money. So if you want to know more about that, please stay tuned. Hi guys, my name is Jennifer Nxumalo. On today's video, as I said, we'll be discussing setting boundaries when it comes to lending money. And before we get into that video, please make sure that you give this video a big thumbs up because it does help with the YouTube algorithm. Let's just be practical first, because I feel like sometimes when we look at people who borrow money, we want to just focus on them. But I also want to shine the light on where the problem starts. There's always going to be people who borrow money, but if you as a lender, or if you as a person that they come to borrow money, you do not have strong boundaries, then you are setting an environment where people feel comfortable to come to you and borrow money. And in most cases, you find that when people come to borrow money, it's normally because you also borrow money. It may not be from them, but from other people. But if you're a person that tends to borrow money, it becomes easy for you to actually even lend out money, because if you don't borrow money, it really does not register from you to then go out and lend money. For me, I don't borrow money from people. It's something that I just dealt with years ago, that I do not borrow money from people. And as a result, I find it uncomfortable to then lend out money. And so I just want to touch on that point. So if you're a person that you find yourself that when people come and borrow money from you and you struggle to say no, and you know that you are a person that also borrows money, you need to look at that and deal with that first, before we deal with how to discourage people from borrowing money from you when you know that you also borrow money from others as well. But if you're a person that you don't borrow money from people, but then there are people that come to you and borrow money, I've also had that case where people will come, or family members will come and borrow money from me, even though I don't borrow money from them. There is a way that you can deal with it. But if you are the other side, whereby you borrow money, but then you feel uncomfortable when people come and borrow money from you, deal with first not borrowing money first. Be a person that doesn't borrow money, so that you don't feel like you have to lend out money. This video is for people that don't borrow money. So if you're a person that you don't borrow money from others, but you find that people come to you and borrow money and you find it hard for you to say no, then this video applies to you. People that tend to borrow money always like to exaggerate their problems, make their problems more so important than yours. One thing that I don't like it when someone comes and borrows money is that they're not thinking you have responsibilities. They know that, but that is not a priority in their thoughts. They don't care whether you've met your monthly obligations or not. They don't care whether you have money there or not. What they're looking at is their situation and what they need, and in that moment, and looking for people that will help them to actually put that money together. And so you need to be mindful of that when someone comes and borrows money from you, majority of the time, they're not thinking about you. They don't care about you. They're only caring about their situation, because at that point in time, what is more important is their problems and not yours. And so don't fall into that trap of actually allowing people to make their own problems bigger than yours, or making their own problems so important that yours do not hold any value, because in their eyes, that's actually the case. Your problems, your obligations, your life holds no value in comparison to what they are faced with at that time. So let's say, for instance, someone realize that they've eaten money, they crushed through their money such that they finished money, they ate money for rent. What they will do is they will try to borrow from people money in order for them to meet that, in order for them to deal with that skoloto. And now you are being used when someone was irresponsible with their finances, and now you are being used and you are being asked to say, hold on your other things, let me deal with this one because this one is very important. So I want to make that a first point, that that you always must think of that when someone comes and borrows from you, many times they will make their problems very important. Their issues become very important over yours. The second part is when, and I'm sure you guys have noticed this, whenever someone comes and borrows money, they make their problems, which are bigger, they make them look so like urgent, like their issues become urgent, that they cannot wait. They can wait for you to put together the money to give to them maybe in a day, but longer than that, they're already thinking no, because for them, they are always thinking about themselves in that moment in time. So it doesn't mean that they are constantly selfish people, but I will say this: people that like borrow money, make their issues important, make their issues an emergency, tend to be selfish. You may, if you are on that side of the spectrum, you may write it off and say, no ways, I'm not selfish. Trust me, in that moment, you are being selfish. When you go to someone with your problems and say, I have this issue is an emergency and it's very important, Nganami, or my sister, my brother, or colleague, can you please lend me money? You are being selfish. Whether you like it or not, whether you don't like what I'm saying to you or not, but you are being selfish. And those are signs of a selfish person. If you're a person that can actually go to another person and borrow money, make your problems bigger, and as if your problems are an emergency over another person, you are being selfish. That is the definition of selfishness. So you, as a person who's expected to lend money, I need you to think of those things. Whenever someone comes to you borrowing money and they make their problems an emergency, and they always make their problems as an emergency. Oh, choming petrol, now it's an emergency. They, at that point, they're thinking about themselves, and they're highly selfish at that point, because they are thinking about themselves. They will always exaggerate their problems and they will make it look like it's an emergency. And there are people who play with people's emotions when it comes to this. They will make it look like it's a life or death situation. And that's where you fall in the trap of saying yes, even when you know that you shouldn't be saying yes, you should be saying no, because they come to you and play with your emotions, use these words and use these things that make you feel like you have to help. If you don't help, then how are they going to survive? You know, someone will come and say, yo, I don't have anything to eat. Can you kindly help me with this much, you know, so that I can be able to feed my kids? Already that's an emotional card that they're playing with. They're playing there, and they're hoping that they're going to use that emotional card for you to react in a way that they want, for you to react in a way that is desired to them. That is why I'm saying people that like borrowing money are selfish people. It is a selfish practice, whether you like it or not. So if you're a person right now, you are watching my videos and you're a person that borrows money from people, please know that that is being selfish. So here's an adult thing that you do as you grow up, and this is something that I've had to learn, and that is why I had credit cards, and that is why I stopped borrowing from people, because I knew that I don't want to put someone in that uncomfortable position. And so I had a credit card. I knew that, okay, firstly, you set a budget. You set a budget and you make sure that you try by all means to stick to it by 90%. Of 90%, you want to try and make sure that you stick to it. When you set your budget, you are being realistic. That's being an adult. When you set your budget, you are being realistic and practical enough that you look at your income, you look at your expenses, and you allocate accordingly. Where you can shift, you shift. That is being a responsible adult. Now, if you are running out of money after you've set your budgets, after you've done your things, that is a sign that you need to work on your finances. For the fact that after you've done everything, you've done your budget, you have tried by all means to stick to your budget, and now you feel the need to go and borrow from other people, that is a sign that you still need to work on your finances. Because if you go and borrow from other people, let's say right now, this month, you borrow 500, and already in your budget each and every month, you spend everything such that there's nothing left. You go and borrow that 500. Let's say, for instance, you get paid 5,000. Now you are owing someone 500. So what happens is you pay for everything, rent and all that stuff, but then something is going to short. Something is not going to be enough, because now you need to take 500 from this 5,000. Take 500 to pay this person. And most of the time when you do that, that means that something had to be paused or someone didn't get their money, something was not attended to. And what you do, you repeat the same cycle again. You go to someone else and you borrow money again. That is a bad cycle. And I'm just going to emphasize that. Normally, when you're a person that does that borrows money, that means that each and every month there's something that is always not going to be taken care of, because you need to cover that. And then someone will pay you, they'll come back and borrow that same amount in that same month. If you're a person that people come to you and borrow money, I want you to be conscious of that. Another point that you need to think about, if you're a spiritual person, borrowing money, lending out money is a very spiritual thing, and that you shouldn't encourage, especially when it comes to your finances. I'll tell you a story. So there was a time, my mother, years ago, someone borrowed money in my township, and they said, can you just please borrow me 20 rands? You know, in the streets they're just talking, because these are people that you used to. Can you please borrow me 20 rands? And then this person, my mother was like, okay. She gave this person 20 rands. And then, not that we just started struggling, Vele, we had been living in poverty, but what became difficult is that my mother could not see her money. You know that thing where you get paid and money just fiddles around, and when you look at the things you have done, you can't see it, you can't put value on it, you can't put attachment on it. That is what started happening. For years, that thing happened until my mother got a prophecy that someone that she gave money to, an amount of money to, this specific amount of money 2 years ago, actually took that money and worked it. Took it while in Zulu. You don't understand this Zulu. This person took money and went and did something evil on it. And so what they did with it is basically to close off the inflow of money, or even the value of money, such that, as I said, my mother couldn't track her money. She couldn't track what she was doing with her money. She couldn't see where her money was going. Like, she would get paid, it would just finish, out of the blue. Yes, and I'm not saying that it would just finish, like vanish, but there were things that my mother will find herself being into that just didn't make sense. Even us as kids, when we look at it, we're like, it just didn't make sense. And so she only knew about that when she got that prophecy. And so that, for me, also became the thing that you need to be wary of who you lend out money to. You can't just go around lending out money. There are people that I know that if this person, not because I think that they are evil or they will go and do something with it, but if you are not family, like direct family with me, so that means my mother's side of the family, my father's side of the family, or you're not my sister, and you're not a close friend of mine, I will not give you my money. Because, as I said, if you come to me and you borrow money and I see that, okay, you really need this money, I will give it to you, but not borrowing you. I'm giving it to you to say, go use it. Don't pay me back. I don't expect it back. If I do that, I make sure that I give it to the right people that I know that they don't want ill for me, people that I know that they actually want good for me. And so you need to be always mindful of that if you lend out money, always analyze the person that you are lending out money to. Always analyze the situation spiritually of who you are lending out money to, because one day you will lend out money to the wrong person, and the next thing, your finances become a mess, and you won't understand why things are a mess in your life, but it's because of the people that you lend out money to. People can do so much with the tongue. People can do so much with a possession that is yours. So always think about money. Always think about lending also spiritually. So if you're a spiritual person, just look at it that way, because that will save you from actually lending out money to people. Just be mindful of that. I'm sharing that with you because I know that there are people out here who do those things, because not because they needed the money, but because some way they want to stop your success, or they want to stop your growth, or they want to stunt it so that you don't surpass it, or you don't go over them or you don't become better than them. People will do that. And so just be mindful when you are lending out money. And then the last thing that I just want to talk about is, how do you say no? Now that you know someone will come to you and make their problems bigger than yours, someone will come to you and make their problems an emergency, they won't care about your issues, and people can actually use your money in other ways, how do you then say no? Here's what I do, and that works for me. Firstly, I look at the person. That's the first thing. I look at the person that is borrowing money. I look at their frequency of borrowing money. Well, back then, that's what I would do. If a person that is frequently borrowing money, I look at a person that has always been selfish in life, that always cares about them, that when things are going well in their life, they don't even know that you exist, because they're those people that when things are fine in their lives, they don't know that other people exist besides them. But then when things go down, they then remember that they have siblings or they have family members or that they have friends. I look at that person as well, if it's that person or not. I also look at your issue. So I analyze your case. Okay, so you come to me, you say you have this problem. As I said, if it's a family member that I know that they don't work and they really need, I know the state of their state of living and they really need their money, I will look at that. Or if it's someone that I know very well that they work, it's just that they're very poor with their money, I will look at that as well. What I normally do is, if I'm going to say no, I'll say, okay, no, I'm sorry, I cannot help you. I cannot be of assistance. I do not have money. Simple as that, guys. Don't have to complicate it. No, I'm sorry, I cannot help you right now because I don't have money. Not even right now. I cannot help you because I do not have money to assist you. All of my money is committed. Simple as that. Don't complicate it. Ne? If you decide that yes, you are going to give them money, depending on who they are, their situation, ne? And if it's something that you feel obligated enough to help them with, here's what I do. I say, okay, I have this much. So a person can come to you and say, I need 1,000. Doesn't mean that you have to give them 1,000. You first have to look at how much can you be able to give them without disturbing anything in your finances. So that's what you first have to do. And when I'm saying your finances, you're also looking holistically, including your savings. Because the last thing you want to do is take all of your savings and lend to people. You don't want to do that. So a person comes to you asking for 1,000. You don't have to give them. You don't have to give them the whole 1,000 unless you have a lot of money such that 1,000 will not affect anything in your finances. But if that 1,000 is going to affect something in your finances, then you look at how much can I give to this person that will not leave me crying. Let's say maybe you can only give them 500 rands. So what I do is say, okay, I have this much. So I have about 500 rands that I can help you with. And I'm going to send it to you. Please know that I don't expect it back. Don't pay me back. I don't want it back. I'm giving this to you out of the goodness of my heart, and I'm not borrowing you. So I make that clear. I tell my family, my friends, whoever, unless it's someone that I'm cool with borrowing money, like my sister, my younger sister, I can borrow her money because I know she's going to pay it back. So I can just say, okay, here's the money. And I don't have to say anything to her because I know that she's going to pay it back. And also, I'm giving her money that I know that I don't have to worry about her paying me back or not. Ne? But if it's other people that I really want to discourage them from actually coming back and borrowing money, what I'll say is, okay, I have this much that I can be able to help you with, but please know that I'm not borrowing you this money. I'm not expecting this money back, and please do not pay me back. Already they're going to be like, oh no, please, I will pay it back. Don't worry, I will pay it back by this time. I'm like, no. What I'm saying here is, I am giving you this money out of the goodness of my heart. So by you telling them that you are not expecting the money back, you are basically discouraging them from coming back. So what I then add as a statement, just to make sure that these people don't come back, what I normally say is, I don't like lending out money. I don't like borrowing people money because it causes fight. And I don't want me and you to fight. Because if I give you this money and I expect it back and you don't pay it back, already that's going to cause a fight. Already it's going to make me look at you the wrong way. And I don't want that. I don't want that for us. And so I'm giving you this money out of the goodness of my heart, and you don't have to pay it back. I'm not borrowing you this money, because borrowing money to people causes fights. It causes friction. And that is something that I'm trying to avoid in my life. Next time when they think of borrowing money from you, they're going to think twice already, because you made it clear that firstly, you don't like borrowing money. When they borrowed money last time, you said they mustn't pay it back. So whether the person paid you back or not, already you're not going to be the first person. You're not even going to make the list of people that they're going to borrow money from. Because the issue is, when people constantly come back to borrow money from you, it's because you create a space for them to feel free to come back constantly and borrow money. It's you who creates that space. And so you need to be able to set boundaries in the most nice way that doesn't humiliate the other person, but makes it clear that this is something that I'm not comfortable with. This is something that I do not need in my life. And you are drawing those boundaries so that you diminish the space that they feel comfortable enough to constantly come back to you and borrow money. So you find that when a person comes to me and borrows money that way, and I tell them that, they never come back again to borrow money from me. They never, because they are always thinking, oh, she said that she doesn't appreciate this. She doesn't like lending out money. So then they start being conscious enough to know that I should not bother this person when it comes to this. That is why I say the only person that I give money like that to is my sister. And that's because I've created a space easy enough. I've created a space easy enough for her to come constantly and borrow money. But the day that I say, okay, I do not want to be doing this with her, I will also just throw out clear boundaries that, okay, from now going forward, I'm not going to be lending out money to you for these reasons and these reasons. Please respect that. And people will respect when you set boundaries. If people don't respect your boundaries, those are people that you really need to distance yourself from. Whether it's family, friends, or what, you need to distance yourself from those people, because clearly they don't care about you. They're selfish enough to not even think about the boundaries that you have set. Because you set boundaries to protect yourself, but you're also thinking of the next person, that you are also making sure that you are creating a space whereby both of you can thrive without stamping on each other. So you need to create that environment for yourself. So I found that by actually saying that, by giving money that I don't expect, and then making it clear why I don't expect it back, has actually discouraged people from borrowing money from me. And another thing is, because I also don't borrow money from people, it's very difficult for them to then come and borrow money from me. Like, I don't have friends that come and borrow money from me. I don't have colleagues that come and borrow money from me, because I also don't borrow money from them. I don't go to them with my problems and ask for money. I don't. I deal with my own problems, my own way. That does not involve inconveniencing another person or asking another person to be the savior in my own issues as an adult. So whenever I do give someone money, I don't expect it back, and I make it clear that I don't want this money back. And the reason why I also do that is to protect my money. This thing of exchanging money and exchanging hands with people that you have borrowed and lent money, you don't know where they got that money. You don't know the ends that they've went in order to get that money. You don't know the situation. You don't know their hearts as they are giving it back to you. And so you are taking all of that and you are receiving it in your life and in your finances. The next thing, when things don't make sense in your life, you are shocked, but it's because you allow money to exchange hands with people. And that is spiritual exchange. I don't care what anyone says. But you also need to be mindful of that. And so I hope that this video is going to help you if you're a person that really struggles to say no. And I hope that it allows you, it opens another window where you can look at it and be more so analytical and protect yourself, protect your space, protect your finances, and make sure that you create boundaries that are clear from people so that people don't take advantage of you. And also, if you're a person that likes borrowing money from people, I hope that this video discourages you from doing that. That whenever you borrow money from people, that you think, you know. But first you learn to be a responsible adult, that you deal with your finances, that borrowing money is the last option, that it's not something that is habitual when it comes to how you interact with money. I'm hoping that this video discourages you and that it allows you that you need to start being more conscious and be responsible when it comes to how you manage your finances. With that being said, I hope to see you on the next one. Please take care and stay safe. Bye.